Hi, Sarah. You're starting to make this a habit. It's a good habit. Glad you're able to join. I recognize that others may be joining, but hour goes by so quickly. So you and I are going to get started. We're going to focus on core work today. And so it may not need props per se, but just keep in mind, modify as needed, come out of poses as needed. But core is, of course, important for a lot of poses. So we'll use that as our kind of focus today. All right. So I always, as you know, often like to begin in the seated position to get us present with the moment. So when you are ready, go ahead and take a seat either on a chair or on the floor and find that position that allows for an aligned spine. And as you do that, make sure that your sit bones are settled evenly on your mat. Use your belly to help lift and draw. Torso tall with shoulders down and relaxed. Head not forward or back, but shoulders over or ears over shoulders. And then you can begin to bring your awareness a little more inward as you begin to follow the rhythm of your breath. Feel the rise and fall of each breath. Slowly and gradually with each breath, smoothing out any jagged edges or interruptions. There's an instructional video on the Ujjayi breathing technique, so you can learn that there. If you already know it, you can start to shift into that. Feeling that breath in your throat, creating that audible sound that will help to guide you in and out of poses. As you become increasingly clear in your mind, if you'd like to set an intention for today's practice, you can go ahead and come up with that intention. It could be gratitude, it could be strength. And to seal that intention and allow it to permeate your practice, you can bring your hands together at heart center. And gently draw your chin in towards your throat. And then you're bringing your head back up to a neutral position and releasing the hands down. I want to show you something just to do at a wall. You don't have to do it right now, but that allows you, if you've never really felt how the upper back and the serratus anterior, those muscles that help to keep the shoulder blades from winging. If it's hard to feel that when you're in a pose, you can try at a wall sometime with your hands there on the wall to practice pressing the back out into the area between your shoulder blades. It's almost like a mini push-up, and then elbows stay straight, your chest comes a little closer to the wall. So you're pressing out and in. Just a tiny bit of movement in the torso. You may see it better. I don't know if you'll be able to just see what's happening between my shoulder blades, but as I press out, it broadens and flattens across the upper back. And as I allow my chest to come towards the wall, elbows still straight, squeeze the shoulder blades together, you can see the shoulder blades winging. So I want to practice pushing out against the floor, or it'll be down against the floor when we're in our plank poses and such. So go ahead and find your hands and knees position on your mat. And as usual, shoulders are stacked over wrists, and you're checking that all fingers have equal weight underneath them. Shins are behind you, parallel to each other, knees under hips. Draw the belly in and just practice feeling that neutral spine first. And you can experiment with that same thing I was just doing here. So pressing into the hands and trying to create more broadness between the shoulder blades. So a tiny bit of movement will occur through the upper back. You'll feel like your shoulder joints are moving a little bit as well. And then as you exhale, you're going to drop down your chest a little bit towards the floor. So I'm not changing my pelvis or my legs or anything else. I'm just pushing away from the mat to increase the space and area across the upper back. And then as I exhale, I allow my chest to dip down an inch or so. And just feel that. So come back to where it's somewhere in between. And now we're just going to focus on the pelvis for a moment and feel that movement. So not a full cat cow. I want you to just feel the pelvis by tipping the tailbone up toward the sky, creating more curve in that low back. That's an anterior pelvic tilt. It engages the back muscles. You can keep breathing while you're holding this, and it stretches the lower abs. And then you go past neutral and tuck the tailbone under. That's posterior pelvic tilt. So you're engaging those lower abs to make that happen and stretching the lower back muscles. So try that a couple of times, just focusing on the pelvic movement. So you're engaging lower back muscles to go into anterior pelvic tilt, lower abdominal muscles to pull it into a posterior pelvic tilt. Somewhere in between is your neutral. Okay. Now with that in mind, we're going to come down to our forearms and walk the knees back. So initially I'm in a modified forearm plank, and you can try to find that neutral here. If you can support a full forearm plank, you can lift the knees up, toes are tucked under, press back to the heels, down to the forearms and hands. Okay, and all we're going to do here is breathe for one thing for sure. And then you can stay right here, shoulders over elbows, or you can experiment with shifting your weight forward a little bit and back. Breathing as you inhale, come forward, exhale, come back. I know you're feeling this in your shoulders a lot too. So if you haven't been working your shoulders in a while, I know you're going to feel it quickly. But just get experimenting with holding that neutral spine while supporting your weight in plank. So lower the knees. I'm going to take the hands back up. Give the arms a rest by, we'll go into a extended child pose. So knees are wide, big toes together. Allow the hips to slowly come down to or toward the heels. Arms can reach out and tuck the chin, head on the floor. Lift the hips up an inch or two, walk the fingertips forward an inch or two. Try to keep the hands there and release the hips back down, increasing the stretch through the upper back, the lats, the shoulders a little bit, head back to the mat. Lift the head up, come back to hands and knees. And now we're going to move into a regular full plank, knowing that you have forearm as an option if you need to for wrists. So I'm going to start with one leg back and see how that feels. Pretend like you have a cup of tea on your back and you don't want to spill it. So before going into full plank, engage that entire back leg, that left leg, squeeze the glutes, squeeze the leg, and just lift it so that the leg is parallel to the earth. Breathe and hold. So I'm not lifting that hip up. And bring it back down. Release that knee down, extend the right foot back. Squeeze the muscles of the entire leg, gazes at the floor. Squeeze the glutes, lift the leg up parallel to the earth. You're not tipping your cup of tea or a cup of whatever. And bring it back down. Okay, so you can stay and walk the knees back for a modified plank, or if you're ready to try full plank, one foot back at a time. And with your shoulders stacked over the wrist, you can even experiment here. Make sure you have that neutral spine. Are you spreading across the upper back? You could even do that little mini push up there. Check that you're broad. You could try to do a pelvic tilt. It's really hard here, but find that neutral. And if you start to feel like your low back twist and is kind of pinching, belly sinking. Draw the belly in or bring the knees down. We're staying here for just a couple more breaths. Knees to the earth. This time regular child, so we can give our shoulders more of a break. So hips down to the heels, arms back by the legs, head to the mat. And just as you exhale, allow the shoulders to just melt towards the floor. Maybe circle out the wrists, open and close fists. If you need a longer break, you can continue in child's pose. If you're ready to continue, extend the arms out, hands and knees. One more activity here, working our core. Stay in hands and knees this time, tops of the feet down. Extend your left leg back, toes pointing toward the earth, kneecap toward the earth. Check that your hips are not rotating, they're nice and level. And if you'd like to add a little bit more heat to the pose, you can extend your right arm out in front, thumb to the sky. Shoulder drawn back in a socket, and breathe, holding that position. So you're not holding your breath, just the position. One more inhale right where you are, and exhale, hand and knee down. Check in that your weight stays even for a moment. Spine and neutral, belly drawn in. And we'll repeat on the opposite side. So extend the right leg back. And if you'd like, lift the leg parallel to the earth, toes to the ground. Sole of the foot pressing behind you, stay right there, or you can add the left arm lifting up. Elbows straight, fingers spread, still breathing. One more inhale there. Exhale back down. Repeating one more time on each side with an additional option for those that would like to go there. Remember to stay within the restraints of what is best for you, not necessarily what I'm doing. So again, left leg goes back, then lifts up parallel to the earth. This time we're going to bend that left knee. So the sole of the foot is toward the sky. Point the toe. This is where it can get tricky. Right arm comes up. Option of reaching around. Stay there, or maybe even find that foot. This is my funky hamstring. I have to bring it down first. You can find that foot. Pushing foot into hand. Hand is like a hook, and breathe. Anywhere along the way is fine. If you're holding the foot, you can release it, and everyone bring hand and knee back to the mat. Preparing for the other side. Right leg back, right leg lifts. If you'd like to, bend the right knee, lift the left arm, stay there or bring the arm around. Hand becomes a hook around the top of your right foot. Push the foot into the hand, lifting the knee a little higher. Gaze still at the earth, breathing. Hi, Juno. And release the foot, release the hand. Good. And we'll take a moment in child's pose just to give those wrists another moment to rest. Okay, hands back in front. Hands and knees position. Going into puppy dog, stretching out through the chest. So knees stay down, hips are gonna go high, hands are gonna walk forward. Take an inhale. As you exhale, sink the chest towards the earth. At your first point of resistance, just pause. Inhale, maybe a little bit away. Exhale, keep the belly drawn in, chin closer to the earth. Inhale and exhale. Take the hands a little wider if you feel tension in the shoulders. Check in with your breath, Ujjayi breathing if you know it. Puppy dog is always an option to choose instead of downward facing dog. Great stretch for the shoulders, the chest. Inhale, come out of it, walk the hands back underneath the shoulders. Tuck the toes under, modify downward facing dog or return to puppy dog. Lift the knees first, let's hold it here and just hover. Enjoy the engagement of your core, both back muscles and abs. Next exhale, start to shift your hips up and back. Create a nice long line from the crown of your head to the tip of your tailbone. Maybe keep your knees bent first moments. Shake out the head, relax the shoulders. Look back and check that even if the heels are off the mat, they're not out or in, but directly behind your toes. And maybe pedal it out for a moment. And then hold a static downward dog. I have lotion on my hands, I'm slippery today. And then start to keep the abs drawn in. You're gonna shift your weight forward into that regular plank pose, option of lowering the knees. Stay there for one more inhale. And as you exhale, we'll take the knees down first. Keep the elbows in close, shoulders away from the mat as you slowly lower the rest of your body all the way down. Untuck the toes, press to the entire length of the front of your legs, elbows in close to each other, and on an inhale, lift your chest up into a cobra. I like to check that I'm using back muscles by lifting the hands for a moment and then placing them lightly back on the mat. Breathing here. One more inhale here. As you exhale, tuck the toes under. First, just lift the knees and then bring the knees back down. Press into the hands and the knees, come through hands and knees position and into modified downward dog or full downward dog. Inhale to plank. Exhale, knees down, elbows stay in, slowly lower all the way down to the earth. Kind of getting the body used to moving towards the Chaturanga Dandasana that we'll be using throughout the semester. Untuck the toes. Inhale, chest off the mat into Cobra. Careful that you're not looking too high. Take one more inhale there. Exhale, tuck the toes under. You can move through hands and knees or powerful press through the hands and the toes to lift up through your top of your push-up position and into downward facing dog. You could be doing this on forearm if you need to give your wrist a break. It does work the shoulders more. Now we're going to go back and forth from downward dog to plank a few times with our breath. Inhale to plank, could be knees down. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale to plank, keep the abs drawn in. Exhale, downward dog. Make sure your feet stay active and do this a couple more times on your own with your rate of breath. Feeling the movement. Try letting your spine be kind of like a wave this next time. So inhale, come to the toes, roll through the back into your plank, and exhale, roll the upper back first and into your downward dog. Take one more full round of breath and downward facing dog. Exhale all of your air out. As you inhale, you can look between the hands and slowly start to walk the feet forward toward the hands. Knees will be bent, hip width apart, and surrender to a relaxed forward fold, head heavy, arms dangling, or hands at the elbows. Good time to wiggle the toes, maybe sway through the hips. You could circle out the wrists. Keeping the knees hip width apart, start to bend more deeply into the knees, keeping the hips back. Hands come to heart center. So we're in a modified chair pose. You may not have a mirror, but you can at least look down and make sure the knees are not past the toes. Come back just a little bit for you. Chest is lifting. And depending on how tight you are through your calves, you may feel a little off balance. So you can take the hands in front for a little better counterbalance. And breathe. Start to feel some blood in the legs. Strong core to help hold you here. And now our legs are glutes are gonna become like elevator lifts. So squeeze the glutes, press the heels, come all the way up to standing, and release the arms down by your side into Tadasana. Take a few rounds of breath. So we're gonna come near the front edge of our mat, move through a modified Surya Namaskar A, but really modified because I'm gonna kind of bring in that chair pose because I want us to work on that core strength we've been focusing on to move forward into a forward fold from chair pose. So feet hip width apart, strong core, gaze ahead, hands at heart center. On your next exhale, start to bend the knees, send the hips back as you drop into reaching for that chair. It's a little too far behind you. If you need to, arms are out in front, holding it here. Breathing, belly in, heart lifting. Reach the arms out to the side, and all we're gonna do is hinge more from our hips, take the knees a little straighter. And then release the fingertips to the floor or to the legs as we take the knees almost straight, coming into a halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. So that may look like this, but I do want, instead of being way low, torso parallel to the earth, shoulders away from the earth. Belly has to stay in to support the back. And you're breathing here, crown of the head reaching toward the wall in front of you, tailbone reaching to the opposite wall. Take one more inhale there. We're going to drop back to chair pose. So start to bend the knees more, drop the hips back and down, hands to the heart. And linger here for a moment, enjoying the power of your core and your legs, your glutes. Arms out to the side. Exhale, moving into that halfway lift. So fingertips can come to the shins. Gaze at the floor. Align spine. Take one more inhale in your halfway lift. This time as you exhale, bend the knees enough to place the hands on the floor outside the feet. Step one foot back, lower the knee. Step the other foot back and lower the knee. Modified plank to full plank. You choose which. This time you can lower as one straight line with the knees off the mat all the way down to the floor. Elbows stay in, shoulders away from the mat. Untuck the toes, press into the tops of the feet. Inhale, Cobra, Bhujangasana. One more inhale here. Tuck the toes under, safely move to downward facing dog. Staying in downward facing dog for one more full round of breath as you relax the shoulders and the face. Exhale all of the air out. As you inhale, look where you're going between the hands and walk the feet forward. We'll keep them hip width apart. Inhale into that halfway lift. Stay there for a moment, belly drawn in. Exhale into chair. Bend the knees more, hips are back, hands at heart. Option of extending the arms up, elbows straight, biceps by the ears or wider. And this time we'll use those powerful glute muscles as we come all the way back to standing, hands at heart center, and then to Tadasana. We're working hard. Okay, same kind of thing, moving a little bit faster through the poses with our breath. This time we'll take the arms up first. Inhale, bring the arms up overhead. Utthita Hastasana, you can just point your fingers to the sky. Exhale, hands can stay there or come to heart as you lower into chair pose. Utkatasana. Take one more inhale there. Exhale, you can keep the arms here this time, but use that powerful core into a full forward fold. Fingers land either on the shins or on the floor, top of the head down. Inhale to your expression of halfway lift. Maybe fingers stay on the floor, maybe they're on the shins. Exhale, hands meet the mat, both feet back, either to modified plank or full plank. Most of you will lower to the floor. If you know Chaturanga Dandasana, because we've not really worked on it, you're gonna move there. Elbows stay in. Keep the front of the shoulders no lower than elbows ever throughout the pose. And then we're gonna come down, even if you did Chaturanga. Next time we'll offer upward facing dog, but this time we'll go into Cobra. If you are comfortable with upward facing dog, you could come into it here. Press into the tops of the feet, press into the hands, elbows in close. Thighs come off the floor, so only hands and feet are down. Smooth curve of the spine. From wherever you are, exhale to downward facing dog. One more full breath there. Exhale everything out. Inhale, look where you're going. Both feet forward between the hands. Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, lengthening the spine into a full forward fold. Knees soft enough to not pull on your back. Inhale, one more time, chair pose, bend into the knees. Hands can be at heart or by the ears. And exhale, all the way up, hands at heart center, Samastitihi. Arms by your side, Tadasana. Guys doing okay? One more time. This time though, we're gonna move into something else from downward dog. So from Tadasana, I like throwing in chair pose today. So inhale to chair pose. Exhale, Uttanasana, full forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hands meet the mat, knees or feet back, lower to the floor or to Chaturanga Dandasana. Glide into Cobra or upward facing dog. Powerful lifting of the heart center. Exhale, downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take one more full round of breath here. Exhale all of your air out. Whichever foot will work for you, because I'm going to spin to face the camera. You can watch me first and see which foot you need to bring forward to do that. So for me, I'm going to lift my left leg up, bring that foot forward, and then start to walk my hands around so that I'm in a wide leg stance, hands on the floor, underneath my shoulders. Okay. So from there, first thing we're going to do is, instead of our outer edges of feet being parallel to each other, we did this the other day, we're going to spin the heels out so the toes are closer to each other than our heels. And as we press through the hands, we'll really squeeze those thigh muscles, lengthen through the spine, belly drawn in. Take one more inhale there. And as you exhale, you're going to start to fold forward, just hinging at those hip creases. Maybe walking the hands back. They stay shoulder width apart, elbows stay shoulder width apart. Moving the crown of the head toward the floor. It doesn't have to go to the floor. This is where blocks can come in handy like we did the other day. If the hands are able to get in line with the feet, that's where they'll go. Keep lifting the tip of your tailbone toward the sky. Thighs are strong. Shoulders away from the air, so you gotta fight gravity. On your next inhale, start to walk the hands back out so they land under your shoulders. To move into a bit of a twist, bring your left hand underneath your chest. And on your next inhale, lift the right hand to the sky. Your eyes can follow. Powerful reach through the fingertips, belly drawn in, hips pretty level. One more inhale there. Exhale, gaze is down, right hand comes down to where the left hand was. And as you inhale, you'll open up to the other side, left hand powerfully reaching up. Wrist is straight, elbow straight. Exhale, hand comes down, gaze comes down. Turn the outer edges of your feet so they're parallel to each other again. And start to bend into the right knee. Try to track that knee over the toes. You may even want to spin the toes out a little bit. And start to walk the hands towards that right foot. I like to have my elbow inside the left thigh. Kind of adds a little extra stretch component. You can either press into the outer blade of that right foot or spin the toes to the sky, knee to the sky, hips go back a little lower. Depends on how much stretch you need and are wanting today. And breathe. If you know another expression of this and you want to go there, feel free. I'm just going to stay here don't want to have anyone go too far with it right now. Okay, we're going to slowly bring the outer edge of that right foot back down. Start to straighten the left knee, walk the hands over toward the other side, maybe spinning the right toes out a little bit so the knee can track over the toes as it bends. Elbow on the inside of that right knee, either outer edge pressing down or spin the knee and toes to the sky. Hips are back a little bit. Yummy stretch, huh? Outer edge of the left foot back down as you start to straighten the right knee. Hands come back to center. I'm going to spin both heels in, toes out. Maybe walk them in just a little bit as we move towards a squat position, kind of a goddess pose. So hips are going to start dropping. Chest starts to lift up. Push those knees out. Make sure they're lined up over the second toe. Hands to heart to start. Hands to heart to start. Good. As you inhale, start to straighten the knees, squeeze those glutes, reach the arms up overhead, maybe take your gaze there. And as you exhale, palms face forward, bend into the knees, bend into the elbows, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Good, so we're using our core to keep us where we need to go without leaning too far forward and back. Inhale up. Exhale, goddess. Hands to heart. So straighten for a moment. We're going to come to a seated position. If your knees are healthy and you can move through Malasana, it's a deep squat, you can follow me there. Otherwise, just go ahead and come to a seat. You can start to walk the feet in. You'll see how much angle your toes need as you start to lower. It depends on how tight your calves are. So with them at least hip, shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider, you can start to bend into the knees. Again, they always going to track over that second toe, not like this. And you're going to continue to lower down. Again, this requires some healthy knees to go lower. The hips are now lower than the knees. Elbows are pushing into the inner thighs. So I've got a fairly wide stance here. But we're going to work towards, not today, but over time, getting so that the outer edges of the feet are parallel. That gets the hips even closer to the earth. I don't know what you need today. You can even put a block under there when you want to practice this pose for maybe range of motion of the knees and stretching the calves. And the ground is pretty close, so we'll just go ahead and release it all the way down and take the legs out in front, finding your sit bones. And sliding the hands back in line with the hips, toes to the sky. Draw the chin in, bend the knees if you need to get that aligned spine. And just close your eyes for a moment. Reconnect with your intention, reconnect with your breath. And then lift the gaze, open the eyes. And continuing with a little core work. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see me better. You can stay how you are. We're going to work towards a Navasana boat pose, a favorite. Bend both knees. Place the hands behind you. I have my fingers turned towards the front edge of my mat, but if your wrists need to go out, that's okay. From there, I'm going to use my hands to get that spine super aligned. So powerful core work here to draw the belly in and maintain that. Knees are glued together. And I'm going to lean just behind my sit bones, still an aligned spine. So more elbow flexion, more elbow bend. And just lift one leg up, keeping my abs in. Kind of make barefoot Barbie feet, I call it. So notice it's not here, that's dorsiflexion. It's not just here with the toes pointed. It's plantar flexion, toe extension. And bring that foot back down. So I'm really just working on, can I keep breathing and maintain that aligned spine as I lift up one foot at a time and bring it down. Okay. Next phase would be to lean back enough so that still aligned spine, head in line with the rest of the spine. And I'm on my tippy toes now, thighs glued together. Maybe lift both feet up and breathe. And bring both feet down. To give the hip flexors a break, because sometimes they try to do what the abs don't want to do, we'll go into a tabletop pose. So walk the hands back a little farther, feet hip width apart. And I'm just going to lift up. Try to make our thighs in line with our belly and chest. Gazes to the sky. Weight through the inner corners of each foot for one more inhale. And exhale, release back to your sit bones. Legs back together. Hands behind you. Okay, one more expression of Navasana. Well, maybe not one more, but another way to go into Navasana. So instead of hands here, you could experiment with hands behind the thighs at the hamstrings. Again, just behind the sit bones, powerful spine. Maybe lift one leg up, have the other join it. Take that foot position. Still breathing, optional. If that spine will stay strong, and as it is, you can release both hands, palms like they're pressing a beach ball between them. For one more inhale. Exhale, hands can come back. Feet hip width apart, hands behind. Lift up the tabletop. Exhale back down. One more Navasana, your choice of starting position. Again, you can take the legs up. You can release the hands. I know my hamstrings are too tight. If your knees will go straight and maintain that aligned spine, go for it. I'm going to stay right here. I think my core needs some serious work and my hamstring. See, I need this as much as you do. For one more inhale, exhale, feet come down, hands go back. One more tabletop, or if you're comfortable with upward facing plank, legs are straight, closer together, lifting up that way. And then exhale, come down. Find your sit bones again. Soft bend in the knees if you need it, hands by the hips. Dandasana. Okay. Moving on. Let's move into a forward fold. Janusharasana A. I'm going to face you again. You can stay how you are. So going to begin with the left leg. Bring the left heel and knee in close to your body, and then open it out to the side. Sole of the foot meets the right inner thigh, right leg straight in front, knee and toes to the sky. Encourage your torso to square towards that way. And you can inhale, reach up. Powerful reach, strong spine, core engaged as you just hinge at the hips as far as you can. Hands will come anywhere, maybe leg, maybe the foot. Use an inhale to come out of it just a bit, realign, shoulders away from ears, and exhale, hinging towards that outstretched right leg. So Janusharasana means head to knee, but it's really more head to shin. So it's not a rounding of the head, of the neck. It's a line spine. As you hold the pose and breathe, imagine I'm there to adjust you, and this is what I would do. I would take that left thigh and I'd kind of spin it back and down into the earth. I would make sure that your right rib cage and your left rib cage are even with each other. So I might encourage that left rib cage towards the earth a little bit more. So your forearms are equal distance from the floor or on the floor. Still breathing, relaxed face. On your inhale, bring the chest away from the leg, and come up. Moving into a little bit of a jazz pose here. Left hand's off to the side behind me. I'm going to point my right foot and start to shift my way into the side of my left shin to lift the hips up. And then I'm going to move my hips in that diagonal toward the left, reach the right arm behind, and hold it here, breathing into that long line from right fingertips to right toes. And exhale, hips come back to the earth. Staying with a couple more poses on this side. Bring your right knee up to the sky. And we're going to move into a spinal twist toward the left. So left foot could stay here, or it could cross over. It can stay there, or if your left knee is happy, your right knee, you can start to shift to the right hip, bending the right knee and bringing that right heel outside your left hip. So both sit bones settle evenly into the earth. I'm going to encourage my left big toe to stay down. And I'm going to use my hands to bring that left knee a little bit towards me to leverage my spine into alignment. So regardless of what you did with that bottom right leg, you're going to bring your left hand behind you, very close to your body, palm down, elbows straight. Inhale, reach up through the right arm. Exhale, bring in that elbow or hand outside the left knee. I'm going to use an inhale to create length again, leveling out my collarbones, wrist is straight. Exhale as I twist to the left, starting at the base of my spine, slowly twisting all the way up to the neck without straining, and breathe. Twists are great for bringing blood flow to the discs between the vertebrae, the individual bones of the spine. Great for refreshing the organs of assimilation. As you inhale, gaze back to the front. Exhale, release the hands. One more pose on this side, but uncross the foot if it was. Bring your right foot back out straight. Bend the right knee, so now they're both bent. This is another expression you can do for, in fact, instead of figure 4 or pigeon that we'll do down the road, is to, from this sitting position, bring your left knee in and cross that ankle over your right thigh. So I don't know how far out you need that right thigh to make this happen. Ankle bent, just like you would be in figure 4. Hands can come behind you to add a little support, because you do want that aligned spine or you're going to get the stretch in the wrong spot. From there, you can slide the right heel in to increase the stretch. Walk your hands in, or some of you may just want to wrap that left leg so that the sole of your foot is at your bicep. Forearm comes around, meets the left, and then you can use the leverage there. Just depends on how much flexibility. You may be here. I just don't want you rounded. I want you aligned spine. Totally fine. We have a lot of levels in this class, and I try to meet everyone's needs. You can always modify more if you need to, or just rest and observe on that pose. My right leg, I decided to extend it straight out in front of me for this variation. And I'm just going to rock my baby. And find that special secret space where I really can feel the beautiful stretch. And close your eyes and just enjoy. And then we're gonna unrotate from the hip, bring that left foot down, extend it out, moving into the right side. Before we do, let's take one more tabletop or upward facing plank and give those hip flexors a stretch. So tabletop would be knees bent, feet hip width apart. Upward plank, legs are straightened together. Inhale, press through the hands, press through the heels or feet, lift up. Breathing. Next, exhale, hips back down, find your sit bones. So we're gonna do the same series on the opposite side. So this time, wait, yeah, I did this, okay. Bring your right knee in and open it out to the side, sole of the foot to the left inner thigh. Left leg straight in front of you. Obviously, you could use a strap instead of your hands. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, from the hip creases, fold forward. Hands to the leg or the foot. Take another inhale, draw away from it, realigning. Good place to bring those rib cage even. So right rib cage forward, left maybe back. Exhale, come down. Just keep using your breath to make adjustments and going deeper if you need to. Remember that right outer thigh is rolling back and down into your mat. Left toes are to the sky. Next inhale, come away from the leg, back up to seated position. Moving into our star kind of jazz pose. Right hand back, left hand sweeps across as you shift your weight into the side of your right shin and come up. Long, strong line from left fingertips out to the left toes, hips push forward. And exhale, start to release back down to the mat. And bring that left leg back in front, right knee up. Move to the spinal twist, right foot here or crosses over. Left leg stays there or comes around so that the heel is outside your right hip joint. Take a moment to settle down through both sit bones. Make sure that left knee is happy. And then leverage up a nice strong spine, shoulders relaxed. From there, right hand goes behind you, close to your body, elbow straight, palm flat. Inhale, create even more length with the reaching through those left fingertips. And exhale, either bring the elbow or the hand outside the right thigh. Inhale, lift the heart center up, draw the belly in. Exhale, begin to twist from the base of the spine like you're walking up a spiral staircase, gradually turning the neck. Eyes are softly focused, not straining too far, trying to pull the body so they're soft. And you're breathing while holding the pose. Next, inhale, gaze back to the front. Exhale, uncross the arms, uncross the legs, moving into variation of figure 4. So right knee comes in, ankle is flexed. Externally rotate at that hip to bring your ankle over the left thigh. Hands can come behind you or fists to encourage that aligned spine. Maybe that's enough stretch. If it's not, left heel can come in or hands can come in. You're sitting up really tall. Should feel it in the right glute and hip musculature. Optional, take the foot to the bicep, outer edge of the right foot is at my elbow crease. I don't want to sickle, see how that rotates. I don't want to do that. I want to keep that solid dorsiflexion, whole sole of the foot at my bicep. Right hand comes around. I could extend my left leg. Arms will leverage me into that strong aligned spine. And breathe. Find that special spot or rock it out a little bit. Okay, from there, you can release your right foot down. We're going to be coming down to our back. So we're going to use our abs to get there. So we're going to take 3 rounds before we go all the way down. So belly drawn in, arms in front. It's going to be like you're scooping out some ice cream. You're going to slowly start to round the lower back. So feel your tailbone, your sacrum start to release toward the earth, but you're not going so far that you can't come back up. And then roll it back up, align spine. Glue those knees together again. Start to round the lower back, rolling it 1 vertebrae at a time. Just maybe a little bit farther, but we still got to come back up. So use the abs, come all the way back up. This time we're going all the way down. If you need to use the hands instead, feel free. Otherwise, you're going to just see if you can keep that same pace all the way down. See where you start to lose the pace. Once you are all the way down, go ahead and extend the legs. Reach the arms overhead and stretch from fingers to toes. And then exhale, bring the arms by your side, palms towards the sky. Press through the length of the arms and maybe lift up the upper back. Draw the shoulder blades a little closer and bring them back down. Lengthen the low back, bend the knees. Moving toward bridge pose, weight through all 4 corners of each foot, knees hip width apart. As you exhale, draw the belly down to that pelvic tilt. We're going to roll back, pressing the low back into the earth, and continue to roll up, lifting 1 vertebrae at a time. Chin away from the chest. From there, you may want to lift 1 shoulder at a time to draw those shoulder blades even closer together. It's going to encourage a better stretch of the upper chest. Make sure you're keeping those knees. Maybe pretend like you're squeezing a block between your thighs. Final option, interlace the fingers underneath. Press the pinky sides of your hands and wrists into the mat. Face relaxed, press into the back of the head. One more inhale here. If your hands interlaced, move them away. And exhale, same way, one vertebrae at a time, all the way back down. Once all the way down, bring your knees into your chest and rock side to side, massaging the muscles around your spine. We're moving towards Shavasana, so if you need a blanket for your legs, an eye pillow, or a bolster, go ahead and get that. One final pose before we get there. We'll go into that spinal twist. So I'm going to give you a different version this time. This time, extend the left leg out, right knee bent. Extend the arms out to the side, your letter T. And then I'm going to start to bring the left knee over toward the right arm. I like to actually kind of lift my hips up, scoot that bottom hip to the right, gaze to the right. I could even use my left hand to encourage the left knee down, but more importantly, I want to really press my right shoulder blade into the earth. Make sure you're still breathing. Inhale, head back to center. Bring the knee back up and the right foot down. Realign the hips. Bring the left knee in, extend the right leg out. And then left knee will go to the right. So left arm out to the left. I'm going to scoot my hips to the left. Gaze to the left. And try to melt the left shoulder blade down. Maybe adding a little pressure with my hand to encourage the left knee down, but not at the expense of my left shoulder blade. Inhale, gaze to center, bring the knee back. Both feet down to realign your hips, relax the upper back. Arms comfortable distance away as we move into Shavasana position. I'll be coming up to sitting, but you can stay in your Shavasana. I'll guide you through the pose. I will let you know when it's 11 o'clock in case you need to get up and move on, but otherwise I'm gonna just extend the Shavasana a little bit longer for those that can stay and for the replay. So as your eyes soften and maybe even close, start to become aware of the body starting at the feet and the legs. If you feel any remaining tension before the body can be still in that section of your body, go ahead and wiggle the toes, circle the ankles. Let them be accepting of the stillness that's coming. And then as those muscles finally relax and release, and the legs become heavy, bring your awareness up to the pelvis. Feel your belly soften, your glutes soften. Feel the back become heavy and broad into the earth. Feel your heart open and your lungs just at its natural, and so you're not trying to control the rate of your breath, but just let the lungs draw it in as they need it and let it out as they need it. The backs of the shoulders are becoming heavier. The arms are relaxed into the earth. Fingers just naturally curled a bit as the palms receive, and let the hands receive. The hands that do so much giving are now Just taking it in. Your throat softens. Your head is heavy. Your eyes have relaxed in their sockets. The lips naturally parted. Your mind is clear and like a still lake, allowing you to see deep into that inner light. So if you can, continue in Shavasana. I'll bring you out of it by 11:07. If you need to come back to Shavasana, you can. Otherwise, I encourage you to either reconnect and focus on the intention that you set or the rhythm of your breath as you surrender to stillness. to bring your awareness back. And to wiggle your fingers and toes. Turn your head gently side to side. Maybe stretch the arms out beyond your head, reaching from fingers to toes. And then bringing the arms back and bending the knees, walking the feet in. And there, roll over onto one side and let your ear rest on your arm. Just taking the weight off the heart. And then use your hands to come back to your seated position, eyes closed. Take a moment here in this aligned spine to just notice any difference you feel now compared to an hour ago. Recognize that you are open to the transition, the changes, and the positive transformation. Appreciating the power of stillness. If you'd like to, bring the palms together at heart center. Namaste. Thanks, everyone. I love my regulars. Have a great weekend, and reach out if you have any questions. Send any announcements that you need to hear. Take care.